everybody. Good afternoon. First of all, we are very fortunate to receive a profound teaching from His Holiness. And also, I think most of you attended teaching. So, how long the revision class go? Until
Sorry?
until what time we should go to the revision class?
Sorry, I think it's 2:45.
Okay, 2:45, right? But anyway, let me know. At the beginning, His Holiness let us know all the sufferings we have is arise from ignorance. All the sufferings arises from afflictive emotions. Then all the afflictive emotions arise from ignorance. Therefore, the ignorance is the root to arise all the negative emotions. Due to the negative emotions, we have all kinds of sufferings. Therefore, we need to eliminate the ignorance. Then second, he introduced us at the beginning of Buddha teaching. He introduced Dharma based on the Pali language. Then second time, when he teach emptiness, he teach or taught emptiness using the Sanskrit language. Because if we compare the two languages, the Pali language was very common language, not enough word to explain all the profound was meaning. Therefore, it's the second time when he turned the wheel of Dharma about emptiness. So Buddha Shakyamuni taught the emptiness based on the Sanskrit language. Not only that, so when he turned the wheel of Dharma, he introduced the teaching, the Dharma, based on reasonings and logics. Therefore, as a Buddhist, whatever we believe in, what we practice, everything must be based on logics and reasoning. Therefore, sometimes when we read the sutra taught by Buddha, sometimes we can see these teachings is look like illogical. It's not really based on logics and reasoning. Those kind of teaching we should not accept literally. We must interpret it in other ways. Therefore, all the Buddha teachings he taught to the disabled based on the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths is very much foundation of rest of the Buddha teaching. The Four Noble Truths practiced commonly in the Theravada and the Sanskrit tradition. We both traditions practice the Four Noble Truths as a foundation. Therefore, before we practice the Dharma, we need to study, we need to analyze. So when we analyze, generally, there are so many phenomena, but all the phenomena, all the object of knowledge, we can conclude into three phenomena. One is the obvious phenomena, the manifest phenomena. Second is hidden phenomena. The third is a very hidden phenomena. Therefore, the content of the Parajjana Paramita teaching is emptiness. Emptiness, we must categorize into the solidly hidden, the hidden phenomena, not very hidden phenomena. Therefore, all the Buddhist tradition, we chant Heart Sutra. In the Heart Sutra, at the beginning, it says, form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. Form is not other than the emptiness. Emptiness too, not other than the form. So this explains the actual emptiness of the form. So when we fully understood, when we fully apprehend the meaning of these 4 lines, then our mind, our view can be freed from 2 extremes. So in order to know the meaning of the Heart Sutra, the meaning of the Parajjana Paramita teaching, first we must try to understand the meaning of these 4 lines. Form is emptiness. Mean we can perceive the form, also we say this is form, that is form. When you closely analyze the form, actually you really cannot find the form is from this object side. Therefore, form is emptiness. Second, emptiness is form. It doesn't mean emptiness itself is form. The form, the nature is empty of inherent existence. The form, the nature of the form is empty of inherent existence. Therefore, we must establish, we must posit a form based on emptiness. Therefore, emptiness is form. Then form is not other than the emptiness. Emptiness too, not other than the form. It explains the true truth of the form are one entity. Without form, we cannot establish emptiness of the form. Without the basis of the emptiness, there's such as no emptiness. Then, without emptiness, also we cannot establish the form. Therefore, all the phenomena must have true truth. The true truth is a different oscillation, but one entity. So in order to understand the emptiness, so we need to study about the teaching. We must have a pure respect to the person who give a teaching, but we must analyze about the teaching. Therefore, we always respect the person who give us teaching. Also, we must study, we must analyze about the teaching. We should not just accept whatever the teacher said, whatever the teacher explained to us. So this is very important for us, because when we follow the guru, the master, we mainly follow the person, the teaching. We never think, we never have a doubt about the teaching. Therefore, before we follow the guru or teacher, we must analyze. We must, do a lot of questioning about the teaching. Then we follow, accept the teaching. So in order to study emptiness, there are so many teachings. Mainly, we studied, the treatise written by Nagarjuna. So Nagarjuna has 5 important teachings. All the teachings explained very profoundly, precisely about emptiness. Then also His Holiness mentioned, I think it's not that important. One time when His Holiness gave a teaching about Heart Sutra, then that time there was a Taiwanese master. He said, we everybody chant. We have been chanting the Heart Sutra, but most of us don't know the meaning of Heart Sutra. Therefore, we everybody, right, we chant the Heart Sutra in Chinese language, English, different languages, but most importantly, we need to know the meaning. So why we have to know the emptiness? Why we need to realize emptiness? Why it is so important? Because ignorance is the root to arise all the afflictive emotion, all the negative emotions. All the negative emotions and ignorance look like the physical body and the sensation of the physical body. The sensation of the physical body is completely separate, all parts of body. In the same way, the ignorance always arises with all kinds of negative emotions. For example, attachment arises. The ignorance is there as a root. Anger arises. Ignorance also look like a root with the anger. Without ignorance, anger, attachment, desire, any of the negative thoughts cannot be arise. Therefore, we need to eliminate the ignorance, then all the negative emotion going to be ceased. Therefore, it is so important to know emptiness. And also, His Holiness explained, ignorance and compassion can be arise at the same time. The love also can be arise with the ignorance. It doesn't mean the compassion arise based on ignorance. This is very important. Please, everybody, try to understand. When you practice compassion, also at the same time, the ignorance can be arise with the compassion. It doesn't mean the compassion arise by ignorance. When anger arises, at the same time, ignorance arises. The attachment arises by ignorance. Therefore, if you practice compassion, you cannot eliminate angers. So you cannot eliminate ignorance. Why? Because compassion, kindness, tolerance, all the positive minds has a solid foundation. The more you analyze about compassion, kindness, then the compassion and the kindness arise more healthy way. It become more stronger. When you analyze attachment, anger, the more you analyze, the more you study, the anger and attachment going to be more weaker. Because attachment, anger, all the negative thoughts arise based on ignorance. Ignorance is the mistaken mind. It doesn't have a solid foundation. Therefore, once you eliminate ignorance, all the negative thoughts are going to be ceased. Therefore, the positive mind has a solid foundation. The negative thoughts include ignorance. It doesn't have solid foundation because all the negative thoughts arise based on the ignorance. Ignorance arises with the inappropriate mind establish the ignorance. Then certainly he should talk about then the ignorance, the emptiness. This thing is a very unique teaching in Buddhism. The non-Buddhism, they believe in God, they believe in Creator. This is also very important practice for the people who believe in God, so and so. Then actually His Holiness started the 37 practice of Bodhisattva. Then His Holiness tell us, little biography of Ngulchu Gyaltse Zangpo. That's a Ngulchu, the first words. Second is Gyaltse. In Tibetan, Thome Zangpo. The Thome Zangpo was actually his own name. Ngulchu Min is the place name, the retreat name, where he did retreat for many years. Then there's a word, Gyaltse. The Gyaltse has a two meaning in Tibetan. One, the child of the king, we name Gyaltse. The Gyal means Gyalpo, like king, child of the king. It doesn't mean the Thome Zangpo was, child of the king. Second meaning, Gyaltse means he was son of the Buddha because he was Bodhisattva. Actually, he was a Bodhisattva. Because that time, Buddha Rinpoche, one of the very famous Tibetan scholar, he composed, he composed more than 30 or 40 volumes. Now one day, he has a little problem with his arm, hand. Then he visited to Thome Zangpo. Then he said, the Buddha Rinpoche said to him, you are actually Bodhisattva. I have a problem with my arm. Please bless me. This means who composed the 37 practices, actually he was Bodhisattva. 37 practice of Bodhisattva. Now we go actually through the 37 practices. At the beginning, homage to Avalokiteshvara. It has a very important meanings because Thomas Zampo, he wished to compose this text, mainly practice of Bodhisattva. All the Bodhisattva's practices include bodhicitta, rooted by great compassion. Therefore, the Avalokiteshvara, the Buddha of compassion, he is the manifestation of compassion. Therefore, at the beginning, he homaged to the Avalokiteshvara, Buddha of compassion. Then the first sentence is very important. It's an interesting meaning. I pay constant homage through my three doors. Therefore, usually when we do like a prostration, we do the proper, the physical gesture, bow down. Also, verbally, we must recite some chanting. And mentally, we generate pure faith. Therefore, three doors. Through my supreme teacher and protector, Genrezik, mean Avalokiteshvara. Then last two sentences, who while seeing all phenomena, like coming and going, makes single mind effort for good for living beings. So he homaged to the Avalokiteshvara. Avalokiteshvara, he fully meditated on emptiness. At the same time, he able to generate compassion towards living being. This means Avalokiteshvara he's a Buddha because he has the mind which is sees emptiness. At the same time, other mind can generate compassion at the same time. So, this was also mentioned, and the way he, homage to Avalokiteshvara is very similar with the Nagarjuna when he homage to the Buddha with the, I think, eight extremes. The second paragraph, the second one, not actually, perfect Buddha, right? Perfect Buddhas, source of all well-being and happiness. So as a Buddhist, we believe if you really wish to be happy, if you wish to achieve, ultimate happiness, we have to rely on Buddha. Then, where the perfect Buddha arises from completing excellent teaching. This means because we believe in Buddha, not only believe in Buddha, we also wish to be Buddha. If you really want to be Buddha, we need to practice the excellent teaching. And this depends on knowing the practice. In order to practice the Dharma, we need to know how to practice Dharma. Right? Therefore, it's very important advice for everybody, for us. Before we practice compassion, we must study about compassion. Also, we must know how to practice compassion. Before we practice bodhicitta, also we must learn, we must study how to practice bodhicitta. Therefore, and this depends on knowing the practice. So I will explain the practice of Bodhisattva. Then first paragraph, having gaining these rare shapes of freedom of fortune, hating your enemies, here, think and meditate unwavering night and day, in order to free yourself and others from the ocean of sacred existence. This is practice of Bodhisattva. So this is talking about how to cultivate renunciation. First, having gained this rare ship of freedom and fortune, ship. Like human life is look like important ship to cross the ocean of samsara. It is not easy to attain, not easy to gain the human life, which is freedom and fortune. So everybody, we already gained the rare shape of freedom and fortune. Here, now think and meditate unwaveringly night and day in order to free ourselves and others. So this is the very important and very rare time how we should free from samsara, how we should, other sentient being, free from samsara. Therefore, we must always cultivate a renunciation, wish to free from suffering, and wish to achieve liberation or Buddhahood. Not only just one day, 2 days, 3 days, every night, we must have a mind which is renunciation. Then second is, so how we should practice Dharma? Traditionally, the second paragraph, attached to your loved ones, you stir up like water. Hating your enemies, you burn like a fire. In the darkness of confusion, you forgot what to adopt and decide. Give up your homeland. This is the practice of Bodhisattva. So in order to have the proper and very pure practice, we need to rely on the retreat. Because if you stay in your homeland where you are born, then there are always someone your friends or relatives. We always have a very strong attachment, desire towards our loved one. Look like water. When there's a water, the moisture is always there, always there. The land cannot be dry. And also, if you always stay in your hometown, then slowly when you have a friend, then there must be an enemy. When there's an enemy, then we have an angry. We have an anger. The anger is look like fire. The attachment is look like water. The water produces so many things. Attachment brings a lot of sufferings and problems. The fire destroyed so many things. The anger destroyed the compassion, love, and inner peace. Therefore, we must do the proper retreat. Then number 3. So what is the benefit of leave your hometown, stay in the retreat? By avoiding bad object, disturbing emotion usually decays. That means the hometown is look like the bad object. So when we avoiding the bad object, then disturbing emotion gradually decays. Here what we need to remember in Lamrim is Lama Tsongkhapa explained there are 4 conditions to arise afflictive emotions. One is the object. The beautiful object arise attachment. The undesirable object arise anger. Therefore, negative arise because there's an object of each of the negative thoughts. Also, the imprint. Then number 3, I think, teaching. So the hometown is look like a bad object. So when we avoiding the bad object, a disturbing emotion gradually decays. Without destruction, the virtuous activities naturally increase. So when you keep a distance with a beautiful object, then attachment decrease. When we keep distant with the undesirable object, anger decays. But then the opposite, the negative emotion is the negative, the opposite, the positive minds. Then the positive and the virtuous activities naturally increase, which clarity of mind, conviction in the teaching arise. Then all the negative thoughts gradually decrease, the virtuous action increase, then the clear mind is, the clear mind, which is clear mind about practice, is going to be increased or arise, in the teaching arise. Therefore, cultivate a circulation. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Then number 4, I think number 4, right? Is actually the first until 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, the 3 program is explained as what kind of condition we need in order to practice Dharma. First, we must gain the life which is freedom and fortunate one. Then we must keep a distance, or we must live in our hometown. Then, stay in the forest and mountain. Then we must reduce the negative thoughts, increase the positive thoughts. Then naturally, a clear mind going to increase. Then here was what he said here. I think all of you remember. Even though if you abandon your hometown, living in somewhere, slowly if you have a lot of friends and enemy, then same thing, you still have a lot of negative thoughts. Then the program number 4, right? 4 is introduced us, explained us impermanence. Impermanent. Within the 4 Noble Truths, first, Buddha Shakyamuni introduced truth of suffering. The truth of suffering has 4 characteristics. The first, Buddha Shakyamuni introduced impermanence through the 5 disciples. So therefore, first, we must need to understand impermanence and death. Then it pushes us to practice Dharma. Therefore, the sentence number 4 is about impermanence. Love one who have long keep company will part. Well created with the difficult will be left behind. Consciousness, the guest will leave the guest house of the body. Let's go for this life. This is the practice of Bodhisattva. So why we need to practice impermanence? Because we can see the person who doesn't know, that doesn't know impermanence, they never think about impermanence. Certainly, he or she lost someone. Then the person feels so upset, become very unhappy. Therefore, if you practice impermanence, always realize death. So when you become separate, someone becomes separate, you become separate from someone, you don't have a sense of, unhappy and sadness. Also, the well created with the difficult will be left behind. Also, as a human, we create a lot of wealth with a lot of difficulties. When we leave this world, we have to leave everything behind us. This means how we should practice impermanence. The consciousness, the guest, we leave the guest house. Our bodies look like guest house. We, not only consciousness, you must think, we and our consciousness, they look like guests. So this time, we use this body. So one day, we have to leave this body, the guest house. Then the guest, the consciousness, the being, the person will go to the next life. Let's go for this life. This is the practice of Bodhisattva, impermanence. Number 5, so here we Tibetan call the negative friend and positive friend. So if you stay with the negative friend, then all the negative thoughts naturally increase. Also, your practice is going to decrease. When your practice decreased, then the practice of compassion, the practice of love going to decrease. Therefore, we should not, accompany with the negative friend, the evil friends. Because you practice the Mahayana path. In the Mahayana path, compassion, love is very important. If your friend, cause to decrease all the compassion, love, there is no good. Therefore, you need to abandon the negative friends. Give up the bad friends. This is number 5. Then number 6. Now, number 6 is how to rely on the Guru. You should note that it is very important to rely on the compassionate and honest Guru. Right? Therefore, number 6 is paragraph number 6. When you rely on them, your faults come to an end, and your good qualities grow like the mixing moon. Cherish the spiritual teacher, even more than your own body. This is the practice of Bodhisattva. Also, all of you, I think most of you have been, study Lamrim. In the Lamrim is explained very clearly the quality of the teacher, Guru, the quality of the disciple. Somehow, in order to practice bodhicitta, in order to realize emptiness, we need to rely on a guru or teacher. The teacher, guru must have the 10 qualities. Also, please remember the qualities of the disciple or students. So why we need to rely on teacher? Because if you have perfect, pure teacher who has the 10 qualities, then your good qualities, your compassion, your tolerance, your faith, everything increase like the mixing moon. And always cherish a spiritual teacher. Even more than your own body. Look at in our life, our body is so important, very important. Therefore, when we eat, so before we eat, we need to think this food is healthy or unhealthy. Also, we are very careful. It is oily or not oil. It is a lot of. We always be very careful about food, because if we eat food and bad food, then our body become very unhealthy. Same thing, if we rely on the perfect guru, our all good qualities going to increase. If you meet a bad teacher, all your good qualities going to decrease. Like eating unhealthy food, your body become very unhealthy. Therefore, healthy student need healthy teacher. If you have an unhealthy teacher, you become very unhealthy students. So here you must open Lamrim books, also try to study about the quality of the teachers, the quality of the students. Rely on the teacher. Then number 7, not just rely on teacher, we must take refuge into Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Right, number 7, bound himself in the jail of second existence. Him not refer to the, like man, let's say the being, bound himself in the jail of the second existence. What only God can give you protections. Therefore, when you seek refuge, take refuge in the 3 jewels which will not betray you. This is practice of Bodhisattva. It's introduced us whom we should take refuge. The Buddha, the being who are totally free from samsara, totally free from cause of samsara, who knows the path to lead to the liberation, Buddhahood. Therefore, when we take refuge, must take refuge to Buddha, then Dharma, then Sangha. We should not take refuge to the worldly God, because the person in the prison, he or she cannot save us, because they are also in the prison. So this is telling us what kind of refuge we must take. Number 7, bound himself in the jail of second existence. What worldly God can give you protection. Therefore, when you seek refuge and take refuge in the 3 jewels, which will not betray you, they never deceive you. Number 7 is number 6 is rely on teacher. Number 7 is taking refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Then paragraph number 8. So after you rely on the Guru, since has taken refuge into Buddha, Dharma, you're always very careful with your action. Your action. Right? Number 8. The subduers said all the unbearable suffering of the bad rebirth is the fruit of the wrongdoing. Please remember, unbearable suffering of the bad rebirth is fruits of the wrongdoing. Therefore, even at the cost of your life, never do wrong. So here Isuri said, everybody wants to be happy, wish to be happy. Happiness always comes or arises by positive actions. All the sufferings and problems arise from the negative actions. Therefore, we always try to engage, try to have the positive activity, positive actions. This is not, therefore look at, as a Buddhist, all Buddhists, they take refuge into Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. But they don't care much about their action. When we think action, there are the verbal action, physical action, mental action. The Buddhists who are very careful, very, very much careful about negative action, they mainly care about the physical and verbal, not much, be careful with the mental actions. Accumulating the mental action is very easy. Accumulating positive mental action also very easy. Accumulating negative mental action also very easy. When you think something bad, you're accumulating the mental negative action. When you think something good about, you're accumulating the positive mental actions. Therefore, it's, Thomas Zambo was saying, up to you. If you wish to be happy, don't do any wrong thing. Always do good thing. So this is our talk about so important to abandon the negative karmas. Should not engage into the negative actions. So number 9 is comparing the samsaric happiness and the happiness which we can have when we achieve liberation. The subdued side, number 9, like dew on the tip of the grass, pleasure of the 3 worlds. This means the pleasures, the happiness in the 3 realms. It look like dew on the tip of the grass. It has a 2 meaning, the dew on the tip of the grass. One, when you look at the dew on the grass in the morning, it looks like so pretty, so nice, fresh, and looks so beautiful. When you touch, it's going to be, no more beautiful, it's going to disappear. This means all the samsaric happiness, it looks very happy, looks very pleasure. When you look very closely, there's not really such as pleasure and happiness. The second meaning, the dew on the tip of the grass lasts short. When the sun rises, there's no more the dew of the drop on the tip of the grass. That means samsaric happiness arises short time, they disappear very easily. Therefore, aspire to the never changing, the supreme step of liberation. This is practice of Bodhisattva. Therefore, we should not just have a desire to achieve samsaric happiness. The samsaric happiness is last very short. And also it's not looks very pleasure, looks pleasure and happiness. When you study, it's not really like happiness and pleasure. It look like the dew on the the top of the grass. Look beautiful when you touch, disappear. For example, living in the, let's say, very pleasant environment, you feel so happy. Something happened, all the happiness disappeared. When we achieve liberation, the happiness lasts forever. Therefore, here, look, he's saying the supreme state of liberation, never changing, or aspire to the never changing supreme state of liberation. This is the practice of Bodhisattva. That means he's comparing the pleasure of suffering, the samsara, the pleasure, into the liberation state. Number 9. Now, until the number 9 is I think 1 second, number. Until the program number 6 is a general teaching. Whether you practice the Hinayana path or Mahayana path, whether you practice wish to achieve liberation, Buddhahood, we need all this condition. Number 7, taking it full, right? Then number 8 is explained particularly the small scope path. Number 8 and 9 is explain the small scope and the middle scope being path. And also, I hope you remember, His Holiness mentioned the 3 scopes and the 3 scope paths actually established or introduced by Atisha. Now, number 10, since number 10 actually explain the Mahayana or the Bodhisattva path. Number 10, when your mother who have loved you since time without beginning are suffering, what use is your own happiness? That means we should not just wish to achieve our own happiness. We should not just wish to achieve liberation, because all your mother sentient beings, they are in suffer. They have a lot of sufferings. Therefore, to free limitless living beings, develop the altruistic intention. Therefore, we should not, just generate renunciation and, become the Arhat. We try to be Buddha. Therefore, we need to practice bodhicitta in order to free all sentient beings from suffering. We're talking about mainly need to practice bodhicitta, right? And also here you must remember how to practice bodhicitta. There's a two. One is based on 7 cause and effect instruction. Second is the exchanging self and other. Then the program number 11 is explain how to practice the bodhicitta, applying the exchanging self and other. All suffering comes from the wish for your own happiness. Perfect Buddhas are born from thought to help other. Therefore, exchange your own happiness for the suffering of other. So you must have you must exchange your happiness and other suffering. It doesn't mean I can give my suffering to other, I can take their suffering to me. No, we need to change the attitude. Until now, we always think first I am first, other are second. Until now, I always focus on my own happiness. I always neglect other happiness. Now we need to switch the mental attitude. That means since today, I always first think other, then me second. Until now, I always care my happiness, neglect other sufferings. Since today, I must care other happiness, I must neglect. I don't care my own happiness. This means exchange the mental attitude. Therefore, exchanging your own happiness. Why we need to exchanging this mental attitude? If you always think your own happiness, then you always have sufferings. If you don't want suffering, you should not think your own happiness. You must think happiness for others. Then you can be happy. Number 11. Then number 12. So that means exchanging self and others. Then, for example, if you always, care others, then somebody deceive you. What would you do? Right? For example, until today, we always care my own happiness. I neglect other happiness. Since today, I will care other, I neglect my own happiness. Then number 12 is look like question and answer. Even if someone out of strong desire steals all your wealth or has he stolen, dedicate to him your body, possessions, and your virtues, past, present, and future. This is practice of Bodhisattva. Since you has taken the Bodhisattva vows, since you have been practicing bodhicitta, then your everything's no more belongs to you. Your possessions actually belongs to others. Your positive action, all your practices belongs to others because you fully dedicate everything to benefit others. Therefore, if somebody stole your things, let them stole. Should not get angry, upset. Also, you do dedication because all your belongings no more belongs to you, it belongs to others. Not only the physical things, also your positive action and your virtues, past, present, future, everything you must dedicate to others. Number 12, then number 13, like 12 is more how to dedicate. Practice of taking and giving. That is I think very common in our human society. Even if someone teaches you to cut off your head when you haven't done the slightest thing wrong, out of compassion, take all his misdeeds upon yourself. Without having done any mistake, any kind of harm others, if somebody want to cut your head, then that means let them cut your head. Let them cut your head. When somebody cutting your head, you should not get angry. You must take their suffering on you. Out of compassion, take all his misdeeds upon yourself. Misdeed with the misaction, all the negative suffering you must. This means give your happiness, give your head let them cut your head. You must take their suffering. You must take their wrong deeds, wrong actions. Also, practice of giving and taking. In English mini text, they say, practice of taking and giving is not the proper way. In English, say, practice of taking and giving is not proper way. We must say practice of giving and take. First, you give your own happiness, then you take their suffering. You must give your own virtuous action, take their non-virtuous actions. So I think students explain until the program number 14, right? I think so. Oh, no. All the way to 24. I think if there's a question, first I will try to answer the question. If no more question, then I will continue. Since the program number 14.
Sheila, currently we have not received any questions, so you may continue.
Okay, number 14 is also, until number 13, like giving and take, practice of giving and taking. Number 14 is more about patience. Even if someone broadcasts all kinds of unpleasant remarks about you through the 3,000 walls, in return, with a love mind, speak of his good qualities. I think this is a very common problem in this time. Someone doesn't like you, then they spread all kinds of rumors about you. So when you knew your friends, your relatives, your co-worker, they spread all kinds of rumor about you. It's just rumor. Is not true, then you feel very upset, very angry, feel very disappointment. Then what we do usually, also then we spread rumor about the person who spread your rumors. It is not in the proper way of the person who practice Mahayana path. Therefore, somebody broadcast about your bad things. They say about your bad things. You must say about good thing about the person. That means, they are making fire. You just put water. You should not make more fire. That means you have to be patient and you should not talk about bad thing about the person. Always talk about good things. Even if someone broadcasts all kinds of unpleasant remarks about you through the 3,000 walls, in return with a loving mind, speak of his good qualities. When the person broadcasts, your bad thing about you, then the person has a very strong anger. The person totally lost the control. That moment, you should not let your anger arise. Instead of arousing anger, you must let arise compassion and love. The person is talking about your bad things. You must talk about good thing about the person. This means the opposite. How to be patient. Then number 15. Though someone may deride and speak bad words about you in the public gathering, looking on him as a spiritual teacher, bow to him with the respect. This is the practice of Bodhisattva. Then how we should accept your enemy, our enemy as our teacher. Sometimes, if nobody tell us our problems, nobody tells us our mistakes, then we think, we believe ourselves, I'm perfect. I don't have any problem. I don't have any mistake. I'm very perfect. Then our ignorance increase, our ego increase. If someone tells our problems, someone tells us about our mistake, then we must correct our mistakes, our mistake. We must correct our inappropriate behaviors. Then the person who tells bad thing about us, about me or you, he or she became our teacher. Therefore, looking on him as a spiritual teacher. Therefore, Tibetan has a very popular, I think, saying, if someone really loves you, if someone really cares you, the person doesn't have a sweet, nice words about you. Clear? The person really cares you, love you. The person doesn't have always sweet and pleasant words. The person doesn't care you. The person doesn't love you much. The person has always sweet and pleasant words. Therefore, somebody criticizes about you, we should not always think, should not look the person is a bad person. We must think, oh, he's very good. He's telling my faults. He's telling my mistakes. I got good opportunity to change myself. Therefore, what? Why we respect teacher? Teacher teach us what is our problem. Teacher teach us, oh, you have a problem, you must fix the problem. Or teacher teach us, you are lacking this and this, you must start to generate. Therefore, you always look, the person as our teacher who criticizes you. Number 16. Also is a very, very, I think, difficult kind of situation in the human society. Number 16, look at. Even if a person for whom you have cared, like your own child, regards you as an enemy, cherish him especially like a mother does her child who is a stricken of sickness. This is practice of Bodhisattva. Even if a person for whom you have cared, who you really care, you always care the person like your own child, regard you as an enemy. So look at in the family, the parents, of course, always care the child. They really, really care as their heart. Then the child always look the parent as their enemy, his or her enemy. You always cares your friends as your child, but the friends always look at you as his enemy. Then we feel very disappointment. I have been caring the person for many years as my child. He always, thinking or looking me as enemy. Then you totally, forget love and compassion towards the person. This is a very dangerous situation. If you practice bodhicitta, if you practice bodhisattva paths, then somebody became like your best friend, became your enemy. Please don't forget to practice love and compassion. Here, do you remember in Lamrim? If you abandon a single person, single being if you mentally abandon a single being, then you're going to decline your bodhicitta. Therefore, this is a very common problem. Please remember this sentence and don't forget to practice love and compassion. The person who look at as their enemy. Page number, pro number 16. Through your, even if a person for whom you have created, like your own child, regards you as an enemy, cherish him specifically like a mother does her child who is stricken by sickness. This is practice of Bodhisattva. And number 17, is talking about how to control our ego, controlling ego. Number 17. If an equal or inferior person dispraises you out of pride, place him as your spiritual teacher with the respect on the crown of your head. This is the practice of Bodhisattva. Someone, equal to you, but due to the ego. So maybe, they bully you, they deceive you, they can be done so like bad thing. We should not, think the person as your enemy. Or someone is a superior or inferior, also due to the ego, also the person, like bully you or bet something wrong, always respect as your teachers. He's talking about, how the ego is bad. Sometimes you can see, actually, someone is equal to you, physically or educationally, spiritually. You are very equal, but the person doesn't realize, I'm very equal to this person. I'm more, superior to this person. Then the person who have a strong ego, they really bullet you, Therefore, that time, then there's a danger to forget the compassion and love. He's talking about ego. Number 17. Then number 18. There also history is talking about here. So how we, can be discouraged about practicing Dharma, practicing bodhicitta. So when we totally lacking of, any kind of facilities, then we thought, oh, I cannot practice bodhicitta because I don't have enough food and clothes. And sometimes also we give up the practice of bodhicitta or bodhisattva path when you are really, really sick. Even though you totally lacking of all the facilities, don't give up practice of bodhicitta. Even though you're totally lacking of the facility, you're totally in suffer because lacking all the facilities. Although still you take suffering from others. You are totally sick. Please don't be discouraged to practice great compassion. Even though you are very sick, still you must take sickness from others. This means, is telling what is the dangers to decline bodhicitta. When you are totally lacking of the facility, there's a dangers to decline bodhicitta. When you're totally sick, then there's a dangers or have a discourage about practicing bodhicitta. Therefore, 18, though you lack what you need and are constantly disparaged, are affected by danger, sickness, and spirit, without discouragement, take on the misdeeds and the pain of all living beings. This is the practice of bodhisattva. Therefore, most of us, we follow the bodhisattva path, or we follow the Lamrim practice. Therefore, we really need a strong and healthy mind. Some good thing happens. Should not let ego increase. Control your ego. Something bad thing happens. Not your anger. Let it arise. Control your anger. Even though you are totally lacking all the external facilities, also you should think, doesn't matter, even though I don't have a food to eat, I'm not going to give up practice of bodhicitta. Or even though you have a very serious disease and sickness, you must think, even though I'm very sick, but I'm not going to give up my bodhicitta because I want to be Buddha, I want to benefit all sentient beings. So here, telling the two conditions to decline or dangers, about decline about bodhicitta. Then again, first is more like a negative side. Then the paragraph number 19 is a positive side. Through you become a famous and many bow to you, and you gain the riches to equal to Vishravanas. See, the worldly fortune is without essence and do not be consistent. This is the practice of bodhisattva, page number 19. So, when you become very famous, many people bow to you. Should not your ego increase? When your ego increase, then what happened? Then there very easily you look other people down. So you become famous. Don't let increase your ego. If you become very rich, also don't let increase your ego. You must know, there's not such an essence. If you become very rich, you become one of the richest person in the world. Don't let your ego increase, because one day you have to leave everything behind. You become very famous. When you died, your name, your fame, everything is finished, over. Therefore, you should not forget to practice bodhicitta when you become famous, rich. When you become famous or rich, what you need to practice? You need to practice here, it's mentioned here, right? 18, sorry, number 19. Worldly fortune is without essence. Without essence means, when we look at someone become very famous, we knew the person is very famous. That means, wow, the person is so famous. Maybe the person is very happy. When you talk to the person says, yes, I'm famous, but I'm not happy. When you meet the richest person, we think, oh, he or she must be very happy because he or she is one of the richest person in the world. When you talk to the person will says, I have all kinds of problems. That means when you become famous, when you become rich, when you become one of the beautiful person, then you should not increase your ego. Practice the without essence. So Number 18 is there's a danger when you have a lot of negative happen in your life, there's a danger to decline your bodhicitta. Number 19 is a positive side. So many things happen, and also there's a dangers to decline your bodhicitta. 18, 19. 20. While the enemy of your own anger is unsubdued, though you conquer external force, they will only increase. Therefore, with the militarize of love and compassion, subdue your own enemy. This is a practice of bodhisattvas. So why we have a enemy? I think everybody we have enemy, someone considers your enemy. Why we have an enemy? Because we have a anger. When the anger arises, then we argue with our friends, we fight with our family, we argue with our neighbors, or we fight with our relatives. Therefore, we have an enemy. Therefore, if you don't want any enemy in your life, control your anger. Without controlling anger, if you try to control your enemy, you cannot. Therefore, love and compassion is like an army or military to destroy the enemy of anger. This is practice of bodhisattva. And also here what is saying, Thomas Zambo, Mahayana practitioner always must practice compassion and love. When you have an enemy, at that moment you are not able to practice love and compassion towards the person. That means you slowly, abandoning the person by mentally. Then slowly your bodhicitta going to decline. Then slowly you're going to fall into the Hinayan path. So therefore, always we need to consider anger is the most great enemy of the Mahayana practitioner. Anger is the very, pure enemy as a follower of the Bodhisattva paths. Therefore, it's very important, page number 20. Number 20, the 21, how to reduce attachment. The first, how to reduce anger. Anger must be reduced through applying love and compassion. So, how to reduce attachment or desire? 21. Sensually pleasure are like a salt water. The more you indulge, the more thirsty increase. Abandon at one this thing which bright clinging attachment. So first we need to know, the analogy of the salt water. When you feel thirsty, you must drink pure water, not mixed with the salt. The salty water makes you more thirsty. Therefore, the worldly, the sensual pleasures, like a salt water. When you perceive the beautiful object, the more you look at the beautiful object, your attachment is going to increase furthermore. When you look at the unpleasant object, your anger, your hatred is going to increase furthermore. Therefore, the sensual objects look like looking, watching or looking, perceiving the sensual object is look like you are drinking the salt water. Therefore, with the abandon at one this thing which is bright, clinging attachment. So how we control attachment, right? So we need to abandon at the one this thing which bright, clinging attachment. So how we can really abandon the beautiful object, right? So you need to abandon the beautiful object in your mind. The object is beautiful or ugly, it not depend on the object. It depends on you and your mind. If you don't want to increase your attachment, you need to look the object is as ugly. If you don't want to increase your anger, also you must abandon the ugly object. Means you need to look the object as a nice, the object as a good. For example, you don't like a person, then you have a sense of hatred. How you control your hatred? You need to look the person is a nice person, good person. Then the hatred for the person is going to decrease. Therefore, how to abandon the object of attachment, object of anger, through changing our mindset towards the beautiful object, towards the ugly object. Abandon at the one this thing which is bright, clinging attachment. Oh, almost timing finished, right? 22. 22 is the wisdom based on the Chitta Mantra school. I think we can stop here. So if there's a question.
Yes, Geshe-la. We do have 3 questions. First is from Pik Fong. The question is, can Geshe-la explain, in regards to the number 11, exchange our happiness for the suffering of others. How if ourselves are not happy? How can we manage to think for others to be happy? She used to think that she wants to be happy so that she can make others happy. So could you please enlighten us? Thank you, Geshe-la.
Actually, exchanging your happiness with the other suffering, actually you are exchanging in order to be happy yourself. So please don't forget this one, okay? We need to exchange our happiness with the other suffering in order to be happy yourself. It doesn't mean your happiness you're going to give to someone. You cannot. Because your happiness is the mental state. You cannot really share with someone. There's been exchanging happiness and suffering mean until now we only focus our own happiness, our own benefit, my happiness, me. Right? We neglect other suffering. We neglect other happiness. We don't care other people happy or not. So this is the cause to arise suffering. So exchanging happiness with the suffering doesn't mean you have to share your happiness with others. I said you must change the mental attitude. Until now, we focus only on achieving our own happiness. Since today we must think, I always wish to achieve happiness for others. When for example, let's say, another analogy, the people who lives around you, everybody is very happy, very kind, very patient. Then naturally, you can be happy, right? The people who lives around you, they are very angry, very mean, very bad person. Then if you wish to happy yourself, you cannot. That means in order to be happy yourself, In order to achieve your lasting happiness, you need to consider other happiness. Your consideration for other happiness cause to erase your own happiness. So therefore, exchanging happiness, suffering doesn't mean you need to give up your happiness. No, you change the mental attitude. Also, I told you I have told you, exchanging your happiness with the other suffering, mainly achieving your own happiness. If you wish to be always happy, you should not only focus your own happiness, you must focus other happiness. Let's say, if you want to be happy, live happily in your family, first everybody must be happy, then you can be happy. You want to be happy in your family, you doesn't care other happiness, you always care your happiness, then you cannot be happy in your family. Okay, this is the answer for you. Next question, please.
Yes, Kishila. So, hold on. So, the people find that practicing Buddhism is very challenging. As other believe, we can just believe in Him, as in God, I suppose she refers to, and will achieve and get what we want and will go to heaven as long as we believe in Him. And also maybe to get liberations. While Buddhism needs to let go everything like selflessness. Kindly enlighten me on this, as sometimes when I do prayer, I am confused either to ask or to let go.
Okay. Again, thank you so much for asking this question. Generally, Buddha said, I show you the path for happiness. Whether you are happy or not is up to you. Okay, Buddha said, I show you the path to achieve happiness. Whether you're going to achieve or not is up to you, not up to me. Generally, look at, so we are, I think as a Tibetan monk, we are I'm very lucky to have a teacher like Dalai Lama. Usually Dalai Lama. Usually said, we has 100% rights to choose follow which religion. Everybody has a rights to choose whether be believer or non-believer. Whether you are follow Christian, Islam, Judaism, Christianity is up to you. First, we have to be very clear. Even though, for example, I am a Tibetan monk, somehow, if I think, oh, Buddhism is not suit for me, not stable for me, so Christianity is very stable for me, then I have a right to follow Christianity. Therefore, first, if you think, as the person who asking question, if you really think that, the Christianity or Islam or Hinduism is very, also very close to Buddhism. If you think Christianity, Islam, Judaism is very simple, very stable for you, you can follow, this religion. Then you are saying, Buddhism is very challenging. No, Buddhism is not challenging. Our emotional is very challenging. Our mind has a lot of confusion. Therefore, Buddhism become very challenging, very confusion. In Buddhism, actually it's very simple. We have a minds, we have a body and minds, right? When you study about your minds, some minds brings you happiness, some minds bring you suffering. What Buddha said, the minds, the thoughts which is produce suffering, you must control. you must decrease. The mind which is give you happiness, satisfaction, you must increase. You must generate. The Buddhist practice is very simple, but we don't know how to practice. You always look at your mind. Negative mind arises, you try to decrease. Positive mind arises, let it increase. This is the main practice. And also, when you study a Christianity or Judaism or Islam, look like you just believe in God. If you did something wrong, do the confession, you're going to go to pure. This is just saying. In order to believe whether this is truth or not, whether it's is real, is happen, real in the reality is happening or not, you need to study. You need to use logic and reasoning. Finally, if you think is useful or important, you can follow. And also related to your question, I think many of you are Buddhist, and you are very worried about your child. Your child maybe follow Buddhism or not. Your child follow other religion. I think many people has a worry, very concerned about their child. If you wish your child be Buddhist, should not talk too many things about Buddhism, should not make a lot of confusion, and should not make a lot of sense of worry about Buddhism. Always say, be happy person, be honest. Don't deceive others. Do good thing, should not do bad thing. Should not say, oh, you should not drink alcohol, you should not smoking, you should not have a sexual misconduct. Then as a young person, they feel very scared. Lot of discipline, I cannot follow. Then I will go into hell. Therefore, we must know how to introduce Buddhism for our youngster, particularly like age of 12, 15, 20. Therefore, Buddhism is not really challenging. We have a lot of challenging because we don't know how to practice. This is what I thought. Okay, next question, please.
Thank you, Geshe-la. It will be our last question, and it's from Lin Chu. Hi, Lin Chu.
Hello, Geshe-la.
Yes.
Thank you for giving us this additional tutorial. Geshe-la, can you just explain again the difference in the nuance between the order of the Tonglen to give and to take? I know in Tibetan, Tong is give, Len is take. In English, it's always translated as taking and giving. But when we do the practice of equalizing and exchanging self with others, the steps 4 and 5, which are Tonglen within this practice, it is taking first and giving. Similarly, in Precious Garland with Nagarjuna's teaching, also there are passages, to take and to give. So there is a nuance that is slightly different that you are sharing with us. So can you just explain that again?
Yeah, also, thank you so much for asking this question. First, when you take, generally, if you become very high practitioner, for you doesn't matter, give and take, for you very equal. You can take first and give second. As a beginner of the Bodhisattva path, as a beginner of the follow of the Bodhisattva path, first we need to learn how to give. Once you become good in about giving, then second, you can learn how to take their suffering. As a beginner, when you visualize taking their suffering, you feel scared. As a beginner, when you visualize you are taking all the negative action in your mind, you feel scared. Therefore, as a beginner, first learn how to give. Then slowly, when your mind become very strong, very stable, then slowly, I say slowly, you learn how to take. It's not just verbally saying giving, taking, giving, verbally very easy. If you do practically, it's not easy. Then you become very, 10%, your practice become very profound. Then first you take all the sufferings,
Okay.
all the sickness, all the disease take. Then also you must know after you take in how to control the disease, make sure you are not sick yourself.
Mhm.
Generally, yes, first give and take. When your practice become very high, very profound, then you take and give.
Okay.
So this is, I think, I say as a beginner and advanced has a different how to practice Tonglen. And also exchanging self and others. In Tibetan word, we have said da, mean self, other, the jen. First, you need to differentiate, okay, what is me and other, the. Then second, you need to learn the equalizing
Yes.
between me and other.
Yes.
First, me and other. You make a, like two categories. Second, equalize me and other. Then when you really feel me and other very equal, then you exchange. Okay, first, categorize you and others.
Mm.
Then through practice of Lamrim, you need to learn how to equalize me and others. Look like this pen in my right hand. When I move this pen on my left, I don't have any differences. Whether hold in my hand, right hand, still it is mine. Is hold on my left hand, this is still mine. That means when you see someone happy, you must feel, look like you are happy.
Yes.
Right? When you see someone has a suffering, you need to feel
Mm.
you also suffered.
Mm.
Therefore, second, after you equalize, then you need to learn how to exchange.
Mm.
Also make sure exchange doesn't mean, you and other, you cannot exchange.
Mm.
Your mind and other mind, you cannot exchange. That means you need to change your mental attitude. You must change your mindset based on knowing the equalize between you and other. So this is, I think many of you need to know more. Please read in Lamrim about the generating Buddhi Chitta. Okay, so this is the last question, right?
Thank you. Thank you, Geshe-la.
Yes, Geshe-la.
Okay, I think many of you attend the revision class. I can see many people. And I really appreciate, attending the revision class. And also always, I said in the TBC before his teaching, we always need to realize we are very, very, very lucky to receive teaching from His Holiness Dalai Lama. Yes, he is a Tibetan monk. He is head of the Tibetan, but more than that, actually he is a real Bodhisattva. He is a real Bodhisattva. Receiving teaching from Bodhisattva, real Bodhisattva, is a very, very rare. So therefore, anytime when he give a teachings, please try to attend. Okay, and thank you so much, and have a good day.